smells amazing from here. So don't worry, I have you as a captive audience, but we haven't locked the doors back there or anything. We're going to have to get out of here at some point. This is my family. Again, my name is Pastor Dan Leitinen. This is my wife, Hannah, and our 4 kids. The tallest one that's standing is our oldest, Judah. He's 10. Then Blythe is in my arms. She's 7. Bodie is next to his brother Judah on the ground. He's 5. And then Josiah turned 3 this year. So that's our family taking a Christmas picture in church a couple of years ago now. That might be a pre-COVID picture. Oh, and then we have a dog too. But she's not in church because she's a heathen. I shouldn't make that joke because I'm going to get to heaven and God's going to say something like, number 1, guess what? Scarlett's in heaven. And number 2, you were so bad to that dog at your mission presentations, making fun of her. She was such a good dog to you, and she is. We got her under protest from me, but now she's like daddy's girl in the house. I was the one that didn't want her, but now she's warmed her way into my heart. So I am from the Republic of Texas, a country in between the United States and Mexico. Oh, you believe me? Okay. Some people call it a state. This is our church, Holy Word Lutheran. No, this is the state capital, and they brag when you get a tour there that they built the dome just a little bit higher than the U.S. state capitol. They'll make a point to tell you that. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's where Austin is. I don't know if anybody's been to Texas or Austin before. That's where it is in proximity to the rest of the state. This is our city skyline pre-COVID. This is and now the city's growing very fast. In fact, a lot of Silicon Valley is moving into our city. Oracle, Apple, and Tesla, and Google. Look, this is the same picture. That there's some construction right over here, and then post-COVID, that building went up. So that's how our city skyline is changing very quickly. We have a football team, and this is where I insert a joke because I don't like them. I'm a different fan of a different team, but I'm not going to kick a dog when they're down, and they're terrible this year. And this is my former church. I was assigned to be a pastor here out of the seminary, to be associate to the district president from 2012, and then I took the call to tell in 2019. But one of the things they said is you can remain in Austin, and you can do your travel and your world mission work from there because a lot of my work, as you're going to see, is online. My wife is the director at the Early Childhood Development Center at that church as well. Here I am baptizing my youngest son, Josiah. It was a joy, a privilege, and I miss it. I don't get to preach as often as telling pastor, and so it's really a joy to get to preach and to come to places like this and to serve you with the Word of God, and I miss it. I miss that part of it. But there are some things that are very rewarding about my work I'm doing now. What is Tell Network? Who are we? We are actually a world mission of itself. So, like, there's our Africa mission team, there's Asia mission team, there's Latin America, there's all these different mission teams in Wells, and Multi-Language Productions is one of those teams. We just happen to be the arm of catechism and Bible translation into different languages. Traditionally, we, pre-internet, would produce pamphlets and Bibles in different languages as we came across different people groups, and we would produce it in their language. But now, since everything's online and it's very expensive to ship, and many people, even some third world countries, and many third world countries have phones, and are finding content not by books and pamphlets, but they're finding it on devices, and we've moved over to becoming multi-language productions. It used to be multi-language publications. Now, that's the change that's happened very recently. One of the things, besides pamphlets and books and Bibles in different languages, teaching material that MLP has produced is a program, a learning program for catechism and Bible training, and it's called the Tell Network program. And I'm the first missionary that's been called to do that work. We also have, I'm a face of the ministry, but we also have a whole marketing and social media team that works at our Synod headquarters in Milwaukee, and they are the ones that are posting on Facebook, gathering an audience, and funneling the audience into Bible study with me and other partners. I also work with partner pastors across the world. This is a key because we uncover people in their country, and we want them to find a landing place at a local congregation. So we're using our resources to connect with other pastors, and that's a very rewarding part of my work, is that I'm meeting pastors in our fellowship across the world and helping them disciple new people in their community. We also have digital media subcontractors. So I will write something or I will produce something, and a team of subcontractors will take what has been produced by me or other pastors and MLP, and they will make it a very nice presentation, or they'll make a video for us, or they'll make learning materials for us. Take what we've made and make it presentable. And then we have volunteers, people that volunteer, WELS members that say, I like what you're doing and I'd like to help in some way, and I get them connected to volunteering for Tell Network. Our core values is we reach the world's lost. That should not surprise you as a world mission. I hope that's a mission of every one of us, that we reach the lost. We teach the Bible in the Lutheran Catechism. We make disciples that disciple. So that's a big emphasis, is that we want people to become self-feeders in God's Word and the Catechism, so that they, in turn, can disciple in their setting. So an indigenous person can take what they learn from the Bible and the Lutheran Catechism, and they can teach it culturally appropriate in their setting. And then we're going to trust them to disciple. We're going to mentor them, counsel them as they go along, but we will not become that community or that tribe's pastor. We want to enable and empower the leader in that community and in that culture to be the leader for that people. Our passion, this is kind of like our call. This is, we have it all throughout our material and our promotion material. Truth brings peace. I don't know about you, but when I hear the gospel preached, it brings peace to my heart to know that I have a God that sees sin, but He's my Savior that has given His life for me. That message that I just said right there is not normal in the world, especially in law-based countries. And so a lot of people don't have peace. And before I even get talking about Jesus and the gospel, I want to tell them, we can bring you peace, the peace that you do not have with God, the peace that the world cannot give you, we can give you. And then you enter into a conversation about Jesus. We maximize everyday means of communication to empower leaders who multiply churches. The key word there is everyday means of communication. 100 years ago, what was an everyday means of communication? If you were to pick, I can't even say, what would you do to contact with somebody 100 years ago, maybe? Letters, thank you. The Apostle Paul, he used everyday means of communication to communicate the gospel, which is a letter that he wrote. Okay, the last 50 to 75 years, what might be a everyday means of communication that you would contact somebody that you need to contact them with? Phone, telephone specifically. And now within the last 15 years or 10 years, what's an everyday means of communication? Email. And I guess if you want to differentiate from a telephone, a cell phone. It's in the hands of people across the world, not just in this country. And if you want to get more specific, it could be Facebook Messenger. It could be your favorite messaging app, Telegram maybe, if it's a lot of people around the world use that. But more people around the world use WhatsApp. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's the everyday means of communication. So I never even knew about WhatsApp before I took the call, but now I can type faster than a 13-year-old girl on WhatsApp to communicate with people the gospel, which is really awesome. Our target audience is urban dwellers outside the U.S. That's why you probably won't hear a lot about us within home missions. In other words, in everyday WELS life at a congregation, our focus is outside of the U.S. Christian men searching for the real gospel and who want to share it with others. Christian women we can train too. In some cultures, only women can talk to other women. So it's real important that they learn the gospel. Brand new believers who want others to know what they know. In fact, that's some of our greatest evangelists are new believers because they're the ones that are most excited to know that they have peace with God through Jesus. And unchurched male community leaders. So what you see up on the screen is used by our marketing team to target market. I don't know if you know, online you can target market subgroups of people, and you can raise that audience. You can raise your posts up to that audience's attention, and then start what I like to say the faucet, turning the faucet on, starting to advertise regularly to that audience across the world, and eventually people start coming through in great numbers. Our guarantee, so what we use to say is we tell you so you can tell others. In business, it's called a guarantee because the client wants to know why they should Why should I download your app in our case? We tell you so you can tell others. Truth brings peace. This peace is yours, and this peace we can train you in the Bible and the Lutheran Catechism to give that same peace to other people. Samuel is a good example of this. I'm wondering about audio, but we'll see if you can hear it. Oh. Yeah. I'm out of luck? Okay. Anyhow, he came to us through Facebook. He tells his story, and basically he's taking the training today with us. Here's a kind of interactive thing. I asked y'all, yes, y'all, about taking a survey about life every day, and I also surveyed my students. We have over 300 students that have signed up for live group class, and so I took a subgroup of them and asked them the same questions. Are you ready? Here we go. I'm gonna ask you to answer these questions. Just yell out the answers about what you think. 50% of Emmanuel, I'm sorry about the A there, attenders listed this as their favorite drink. Water, pop. I love saying pop when I'm in Minnesota. Milk and bubble tea. Anybody? Milk is 50% your favorite drink, at least to the people that... who listed sausage and hot chocolate for breakfast? Shirley, Black, Gibbon. Barbara from St. Lucia, Carol from Gibbon, or Samuel from Guinea, Conakry, that's a country in South Africa, or in West Africa. Who listed sausage and hot chocolate for breakfast? Shout it out. It was Barbara from St. Lucia. Isn't that funny? Who said, we grow our meat, make bread, buy local? Naomi, James from Sierra Leone, Samuel from Guinea, or Mohammed from United Emirates? Someone said, it sounds like Naomi because it is Naomi. Nice. Whose favorite everyday meal is Dunbury? Am I saying it? Dunbury. Belichu, Barbara from St. Lucia, Priscilla from Gibbon, or Samuel from Guinea? Any guesses? It's Priscilla. And Priscilla, what is Dunbury? You probably put it down in the thing. You can culture us. She says steamed vegetables and meat over rice. Nice. That's your favorite everyday meal. That's brilliant. Oh, wow. Do you know what culture that's from? Or is it's from what? Japan. Okay, very good. Thank you, Priscilla, for culturing us. That's amazing. Who said water all the time, coffee in the morning for favorite drink? James, Sierra Leone, Belichu, Ethiopia, Samuel from Guinea, or Janet from Gibbon? I know, I'm big. Any guesses? No? Okay. Samuel from Guinea. He was the one that was he had about a 2-minute presentation. Who listed Twix candy bar as special treat? James from Sierra Leone, Lisa Gibbon, Samuel Guinea, or Janet from Gibbon? Is Janet in the house? Janet in the room? Twix. All right. You know when it's Janet's birthday, what to get her. Who listed Vegemite as the strangest food they've ever eaten? Jim and Naomi Evanson, Gibbon, Noel, Philippines, Taiwu, Nigeria, or Mohammed, United Emirates? First of all, well, what is Vegemite? Jim and Naomi, are you in the house? That's okay. I didn't know what Vegemite it was, and I Googled it, and it sounds disgusting. And that's all I have to say. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. You can Google it and find out. Oh, hi online. You can tell everybody. It's something in Australia that is a thing there. It's a cultural phenomenon. Who listed nut butter as the strangest food they've ever eaten? Samuel, Guinea, Shirley, Gibbon, Taiwu, Nigeria, or Jim and Naomi Evanson, Gibbon? Nut butter. It's Taiwu from Nigeria. What is nut butter? It's peanut butter. Yeah, it's peanut butter. And so it's the strangest thing he's ever eaten in his life. He's never had it before. And so it was funny when he shared that with me. Who listed crocodile as strangest food? Carol Kramer, Gibbon, Opio Adu, Ethiopia, Asher William, Pakistan, or Elizabeth John Trinidad? Opio? Carol Kramer, crocodile. When asked, where do you buy groceries? John from Gibbon, I just know names by what you put down, and I don't know who John is, if he's in the house or not, answered, Cashwise, Hy-Vee, Aldi. My wife does. D. Ding, 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 ding. Is John in the house that answered this? I loved it. Okay. So how do you find tell? Back to the presentation. We put a lot of money into the Facebook page. Our main Facebook page is available if you wanted to look it up. We have over about 500,000 likes and follows on our Facebook page, which is the second largest Lutheran Facebook page in the world. Next to our sister ministry, Academia Cristo, which is the Spanish version. Yes, you can even add up all the synods, the Lutheran synods, and they don't even come close. That's something that we're proud of, but it is a vanity stat in this, is it doesn't mean much. You can have lots of likes and followers. If you're in the tech world, you'll know you can even buy likes and follows. It does help you, though, as far as getting your status up in search engines. And that is one reason why, again, our ministry, which is part of your offering, decided to invest in making a large Facebook page. We also have regional pages, if you can call it Africa a region, 50 countries, huge continent. You can't, but we have breakout groups, Facebook pages that minister exactly to that culture using culturally appropriate language, culturally appropriate content, and pictures of people, real Lutherans in that area, that are ministering to other people in their region. So, yes?
What language would you choose for Africa? Because there are
Yep.
hundreds of languages in Africa.
English. Yeah.
English is an international language.
Yeah. That's a good question. Why? That's actually a good point. We are only in English, and we're across the world in English because it's a lingua franca, it's the language of business. And we could spend tons of money in a lot of different languages, creating a lot of different languages, and we are creating in different languages, but not yet. Like for instance, in Africa, I would like us to tell French. That in some countries in Africa is the common language, but we don't have any French pastors. I don't know French. Our synod doesn't have any French-speaking pastors. If we can find a pastor, train and develop them in English, and that pastor has a gift in French, maybe we have our answer someday. So we have Mandarin, Tell Mandarin. We have Tell Tagalog in Philippines, Tell Academia Cristo in Latin America, and then we're developing some for the Caribbean. Yeah.
Have you worked at all with Lutheran Bible translators?
No, I know the Lutheran Bible translators, though. Yeah. I'm going to get to what we do specifically, but they too are doing great work in Africa. Yeah.
We had Cougar.
Yep. I went to his presentation to the pastors recently too. It's incredible what they're doing. Yeah.
They're in my prayer book.
Yeah, and they're creating new Bibles and new languages for people where we've never even had Bibles before.
Chris and Janine are in Ethiopia. Well, they're apparently in America right now because of security concerns in Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm. We have Tell Facebook South Asia and Southeast Asia as well, and each of those have pastors that we partner with in those countries. Here's a couple of them. This is Alvian de Guzman, our national pastor in Philippines. He's in Manila, right? And here we are meeting in Zoom. This was pre-COVID, so we thought it was pretty cool we were on Zoom. Now Zoom is like, oh boy. He does a tell talk, so I write a script, and then he takes that script and he publishes it, or he makes a video. And this is, I'm not going to play it for you, but this is him speaking the devotion using the tell method. So we use the tell method, which is think, evaluate, learn, and lead. It starts off with this. Think about this. Have you ever felt like something was unfair? Sound familiar? It's what your pastor might use for introduction, think question, or we used to call it in seminary a hook. But after that, it's think, evaluate. Okay, evaluate. What are, this passage that we have, what are the characters, or who are the characters, what's the place, what's the time, why is that important? See how you teach the person to bring context into the Bible passage as they teach. He's doing this in a short devotion video. And then after that, number 3, how does this apply? It's learn. That's the first L. Let's learn what this means for us. Do you know that you and I are more like Jonah than we like to admit? Apply the law, apply the gospel. Do you know that God is more gracious than we forget sometimes? That's the application. That's where we bring in law and gospel in the learn section. We ask the same questions in Bible class, and we teach the student to ask the same questions as they go through the Bible systematically to look at God's law, God's gospel. And then the last L is lead. That means, do you know somebody that needs to hear this message? Maybe this message is especially for somebody that's suffering through pain right now. Maybe this message is for somebody that has a mission festival that you could bring it to. Like, you can share the gospel with other people. That's good. So everything that we do, we'll have a multiplication and a emphasis after the Bible study so that person knows that they can start sharing the gospel with other people. This is Stanley Daile on the right and missionary John Repke on the left. We're zooming right now. He's in Malawi. He's actually a seminary professor now at their seminary. But we're joking because, and you'll get this, in many places they don't understand this immediately, but he says to me, yeah, I have 3 daughters, and each of them are 5 cow daughters. See? Usually I say that to like people in Austin, they're like, what are you talking about? And you get it. And I said, that's funny because in our culture, if you have a daughter, you have to pay $20,000 per daughter. So when they get married. He does, like, if the volume was working, he's saying exactly the words on the screen. So for an African, instead of watching me, a white male from North America, they're seeing their own people share the gospel, and they're saying, I can do this, he can do this. It's not perfect English, but that's okay, because that culture, they don't need to speak perfect English or be an eloquent preacher in English. This is my friend Peter Oman and his wife Kiki. He is a pastor in Sweden. And he does our Tell Europe page. He posts things to Tell Europe. So here's his video that he's doing. He's a superstar pastor in my mind. He's pastoring many churches, and then he's doing this on top of it. His wife also is a teacher, and they both teach for a profession as well. So they're helping us out and one of our partners. When you come and our social media team builds an audience, the audience has next steps to download our app or go to our website. You'll come to this. You'll come to our website and you will have options to study with us, including clicking on a video below to start your self-learning courses. We have over 10,000 users on our app right now that are learning through the Tell self-learning videos. You click on the video, and it brings you to a Bible study, a 10-minute video that has there's words behind this, but they're teaching videos. You'll pause the video right here, read the scripture, and then the teaching video will teach you the rest of the lesson. And this would be something that we write the script for, and then we have creative control, but we subcontract out the content so that the video looks nice. We subtitle because that's very popular, even for me. I like subtitles, but for people that have English as a second language, it's super important that they can read it as well. There are 3 self-learning courses that you take before you come into a live group class with a missionary like myself. They are called Spiritual Healing, 10 videos, 10 minutes each, with questions afterwards that are self-correcting. Truth Brings Peace, and then Introduction to the Bible. Introduction to the Bible is getting more into, okay, what is the law? What is the gospel? The other 2 are pre-evangelism almost. They're explaining that you can have peace with God, and it doesn't come through your works. And now you get into more heavy stuff as you get Introduction to the Bible. You might call this even a beginner's lesson number 1 of BIC or something like the Bible information class. People receive certificates. These are super popular. It shows that they're making progress. And so we don't mail them. We send a PDF to them, and then they can have that on their phone to show their friends that somebody in the United States has given them a certificate, which is pretty cool. Then you graduate into the live group class with an instructor like myself. This portion is in-depth Bible study covering Old Testament, New Testament, life of Christ, law, gospel, teachings of the Bible. I just taught legalism, a month course on legalism. But you meet with an instructor in a classroom on Zoom twice a week for an hour and a half for about a month. And these are just, if you can see that, I know they're small words. You have all these different courses. It could take up to 13 months to finish these if you went all the way through without stopping. We talk at the end of the course about what a disciple is. We to talk about the fruit of the fruit of the Spirit, that sanctification, and also that the Spirit moves us to share the gospel with other people. And by this time, they've had all the baptism, Lord's Supper. They have a full understanding of these teachings of the Bible. And if they choose to be in fellowship with us, we will welcome them to fellowship after we connect them to a local church. And if they've gathered 10 people or more, we will visit them in person, and we will follow up with them in person and encourage them to start identifying the next person in their group to take the tell method and to multiply ministry that way. After that tier, and they've come into fellowship with us, we do the multiplication level. We talk about the basics of worship, the principles of worship. We talk about the need for church organization. Many of these tribes and these people groups do not have formal church organization. So we talk about that. At the end of each month course, people are to do a final project, and the final project includes making a video of them teaching other people. So this is Opiu Adu from Gambala, Ethiopia, and he is teaching his people the lessons that we just taught him. He comes up with and he writes a tell outline himself about a Bible verse that he hasn't studied yet. This is Sam Gassimu from Sierra Leone. He just found 2 people and that he's teaching Jesus changes water into wine. But each of them are graded then. These projects are submitted to me, and I tell them what I think went well, what I think they could do better, if there's some doctrine that needs to be corrected, and if there's some things about the presentation that they could do better, I try to encourage them. And again, each student will do these projects and make progress through the course. This is Samuel Kalavogi from Guinea-Conakry. He's one of our students currently. He told me at the beginning of our relationship, my greatest desire is to be well-equipped for mission work. Thanks for this information. I gave him some information about our program. He says he wants to enroll by God's grace. And then one day, after one of our lessons, he says, please pray that God will open doors for my wife and I to be well-trained for effective mission work. And then the next day, I did pray with him, for him about that, and he says, good morning, Pastor Dan. Please pray for today's broadcast for great impact in our community. And I said, broadcast? What? He was invited to a local radio station to have 2 sessions for an hour and a half by somebody to preach the gospel online on the radio, which is their most common means of everyday communication. And here's the video. Actually, the video's not going to play. That's okay because we don't have sound. But he's on the right, and he's speaking in French, the lesson, and the guy on the right in the video, he's translating it into the local dialect immediately after. Okay, there's the action of them preaching. What is he preaching? He says, in the introduction, I asked if they fear death, if they fear God, to face God after death, if they know the judge God and the law. And I said, I have good news. Guinea-Conakry is a heavily Muslim country, and all they hear is the law all the time. And I said, how many people do you figure that this broadcast reached? And he said, my friend says it has an audience of 400,000 people. Wow. I just sent goosebumps on my neck when I heard that. That was so awesome to hear. He says, using the story of the woman caught in adultery, which we had just studied, in John 8, I tried to present the 2 sides of God, His justice and His love. We ended with the question, how will God satisfy His justice and save people? Next week, I want to share the solution, the great exchange. I need your advice. And I said, well, pray for everybody to stay alive from this week to next week, because they'll get the gospel. I think he did get them the gospel, but we came up with a game plan for his next message based on the tell method, and we worked on it. So this is the kind of stuff you can do far away from other people as you train them and as they look for training, and he's just one of those examples. The next video, I can play this one because it is his voice in the background, but he says, how can you be used if you don't know God's Word? If you don't know God's Word, how are you going to teach? This is him, and this is a one of those messages that you hit. Actually, the video won't play. That's okay. I'll go on to the next guy. This is Glenn Lockwood from Kampong, India, and he came to us through the app. What he's talking about here, and I won't play the whole video, but he's saying hello and greetings from India. And then he's talking about how he found Tell through Facebook, and he downloaded the app, and now he has a structure for his teaching. He is like a pastor figure in his community, but he hasn't ever been formally taught the Bible. You got to understand, many of these people, the pastor in their community is the guy with the Bible, basically. The guy that can read the language of the Bible, but maybe they haven't been formally trained. So very different idea about what a pastor is. So when they find some kind of organization that can train you and it's free, they get very excited about it. All right, tell us about travel. Back to the survey. What do we got? 10 minutes, 20 minutes? And Simi from Nigeria said this about the farthest she's traveled from home. I've traveled like 1 hour from home. It was awesome. My life is boring. I've never even left my town. I've traveled 3,000 miles around the world, or I'm too afraid to travel. D, I'm too afraid to travel. Actually, she has traveled like 1 hour from home, and it was awesome. It's kind of a privilege to be able to travel for some people in countries. The farthest Janet from Gibbon has traveled from home was Japan and Taiwan, Bahamas, Door County, Wisconsin, or Key West, Florida. Japan and Taiwan. Janet in the house? That's right. Did I say that before? I was just making sure you're still awake. The farthest, Shirley Black. Is she your staff assistant here? I worked with you this week. Thank you. Has traveled from home was Japan and Taiwan, obviously. Maybe not. Bahamas, Door County, Key West. Bahamas. Is that right? Yeah. How was that? Yeah? Do you want to go back, starting this time of year? Paris, France was the farthest this person has traveled from home. John from Gibbon. Opio Adu from Ethiopia. Elizabeth John from Trinidad. Karen Bauer from Gibbon. Indeed, Karen. Karen, how was Paris?
I don't get French.
It was tough. They don't take too kindly to English speakers either, do they? I've heard.
It's okay. They like to practice. And I was with my sister. It's a little better.
Okay. Does she know French?
She's a singer, so she's got to do Italian.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Italian. This person's farthest trip from home was Richmond, Virginia. Bella Chu from Ethiopia, John from Gibbon, Elizabeth John from Trinidad, or Noel from Philippines. I heard John. Bella Chu from Ethiopia. This summer, I was on vacation this in early July, and I get a WhatsApp call from one of my students, Bella Chu from Ethiopia. He says, I just landed in Washington, D.C. And I said, and what's his first question, do you think? Can you meet? No, it wasn't, can you meet? I thought he should have asked that. But his first question was, where's the nearest Lutheran church? Yeah. And so I said, I'll look it up, and it took a couple seconds. But I got him connected to our church in Falls Church, Virginia. Yeah. Pastors Tim Sartorius, and Kevin Waddles. And they were great. They said, this is awesome. They gave him a ride to church. And Bella Chu continued to learn with Tell and starting to learn to be part of that community as well. Why do you think, you mentioned, why do you think he's in D.C., Bella Chu, from Ethiopia? Do you know why somebody from Ethiopia might be in America right now? You said it. There's civil war right now. And he lives in Addis Ababa, and the rebel troops, he calls them the Federalists, are coming to take over Addis Ababa. The airport there recently has been shut down from travel for the U.S. citizens, which is like New York City's airport getting shut down. It's one of the freest cities in that area, and that country used to be extremely free. It still is free, but there's so much gunfire and the airport's being overtaken that nobody can travel in and out of there anymore. But he's in America with other refugees. And the neat thing is that he's continuing to take classes, and he's starting to teach refugees online on Zoom, like I teach him. And he's doing that with refugees in Atlanta. And he's using his home language to take what he's learning in English and teaching in his home language to the people in Atlanta, the refugees there, and also to refugees locally in Washington, D.C. He's finished so many courses. In fact, he's at number 7. At 6, that's a gate that when you get to, you are assigned a counselor, a telemissionary like myself, or a missionary in Africa. Usually that's what happens. But since he was in the U.S., guess who got assigned to him? I got assigned to him. I'm the only telemissionary here. So this past Monday, I visited Belichiu in Washington, D.C., and we met first time face to face. Isn't that cool? His first thing when he came out of his apartment, he said, "You are much taller than on camera." Here we are. Okay, so we went to our Wells Church that morning, and we enjoyed just getting to know each other, basic questions about each other, learn about his story, and learn about his education. He has a degree in psychology, children's psychology, and he ran many orphanages in Ethiopia. So very impressive man, and smart too. I won't be able to play his video because of the audio, but that's okay. He basically, in the video, he'll tell you this. He was part of a big church that was going far, far away from the gospel, a Lutheran church. You might think a Lutheran church in our country might come to mind that is going down the same path as his church. But then he found our church, and he found Tell, and he said there's hope for education, and there's hope for educating future men and women and pastors because you guys offer something in your small church body. So we talked over a long period of time that morning, this last Tuesday morning. And then the rest of the day after that, we just had fun with one another, and we got to know each other more, and we got to go around Washington, D.C., and he got to see things that people around the world probably will never see. Probably I've only seen once before in my life. But here we are I said, I want to take me to Ethiopia and Washington, D.C., and of course you can do that because there's many refugees there, and there's a refugee community. And he takes me out to this restaurant, and we're eating a traditional meal, and what you see in front of us are not napkins. Do you see those things folded up? That's bread. It's a spongy bread called injera. And what you do is, first of all, you make sure everybody at the table has washed their hands. It's funny. It's kind of like a little formal thing, like, I'm washing my hands. Are you? Yeah. Okay. And then you take the bread, the injera, and you break it, and you break off a little piece. And then there's meat in the middle of the bowl, the communal bowl, and you grab the meat with the bread. The meat is called tips. I tried saying it, he's like, you're still not saying it right. Tips, but it's meat, it's beef, and that beef you take, and then there's curry on all the edges, and you just dip, and you find whatever curry you want, dip it, pop it in your mouth, and then you take another piece of bread, and do you understand? You know what's coming to mind, kind of? Yeah, it's a communal meal. That's a very, very, I'm not saying it is the communion meal, but I'm saying that's what the significance of Jesus breaking bread with somebody and dipping with somebody. You are actually you're doing something very close to your mouth and close to that other person. Is kind of a cool moment because you don't think about the significance of communion that way. I mean, we do, but when you see it happening in culture and you see, oh, that meant something really special, that first Lord's Supper, and that Lord's Supper that we have today means something very special. It actually it's kind of a neat, significant thing. So the weather's beautiful in Washington, D.C. this time of year. I'll tell you, it's gorgeous. I think my parents took me to Washington, D.C. as a child. By the way, my parents are here today. I don't know if you knew that. I'm not going to embarrass them, but I am their favorite child. That's a unanimous decision in when I polled myself. But I do know that I made the Christmas letter this year because I was at home yesterday. I made the pictures twice, and my siblings only made it once. So that proves that I'm their favorite child, and I'll remind them that when I go to see them at Christmas. So anyhow, it was really neat. We got to talk about a lot of things, even cultural things, and what it means to be white and black in America. We talked about that at the feet of Abraham Lincoln. It was really moving. he was just wondering about things like that. Here we are at the White House. I joked with him that we had an appointment with the president, but he forgot. And then we filmed a video. So this is his testimonial video about Tell and about his journey from his church body to finding what we have today. And we won't play that because of time's sake. I like to end like this, and then I'll take questions. But I ask people around the world and you the same questions. Is it easy or hard to be a Christian in your community? Answer from the world. It is very challenging in the northern part of my country to be a Christian. That's Moses Adesina from Guyana. It is easy in parts of the country I am, but not easy in some parts of the country. Taiwo Lesotho, Nigeria. It is not always easy, but many persons who have given their lives to Christ continue to serve Him despite the pressure brought to bear upon them. Some fall by the wayside, though. Barbara Pascal Blase, St. Lucia. Almost 80% are Christians in Kenya, Africa. Benjamin Oyo, Kenya. It's true, that's actually a very Christianized country, and they're proud of being Christian. Not easy to be a Christian because we are the minority and the opposition. And their opposition threats persecution from the Muslim community, Samuel Kalibogi in Guinea. All right, same question. Is it hard or easy to be a Christian in your community? Emmanuel Gibbon. Home in Gibbon, easy. Being a Christian is part of our community environment. My friends, my family. Work, hard. Twin Cities. If you keep to yourself, it's easy. But if you express your beliefs, that is, criticize evolution, tell people there are only two genders, etc., it becomes very difficult. A little too easy. People generally leave people alone if they want to be Christian. However, there is a lot of apathy about Christianity too. Lukewarm Christians. Easy. It's a big part of the culture here. Those are just some of your answers. Many of the answers that I didn't put up are similar to the last one. Biggest challenges to your faith in Emmanuel or in Gibbon. The many messages on TV, computer that try to draw us away from Jesus, along with the comfortable way of life we have been blessed with. Another answer, people around here work very hard. It is sometimes hard to say no to work in order to attend other God-giving responsibilities. The challenge of opposition, my own laziness and my difficulty in memory. Trying to lead others away from sins that are strongly promoted in society and encouraging youth to attend services. These are some of the answers. And keeping people from cussing, that's another one. That's the biggest challenges to your faith in the world. So many false religions. Guyana. In St. Lucia, the religions which do not preach the full gospel, like Adventists, seem to be doing better than full gospel preaching churches. To testify about Him because of many religions. Noel, Philippines. The strong opposition from Muslims regarding conversion in Christ, most of them are open to our prayers, friendship, and sharing, but they feared the reaction of their community if they decide to follow Christ. Difficult to find good models, ministers, or training centers, Bible institutes. Samuel, Guinea. The challenge we are facing right now is persecution of the church. They want everyone to be a Muslim. Anne from Nigeria. Encouragements from the world. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto their own understanding. In all their ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct their path. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Barbara, St. Lucia. Bishwa from Nepal says, there is no way without Jesus to enter heaven. If you want to enter, please believe to Jesus Christ. Taiwo from Nigeria encourages us to hold on to their faith no matter the challenges. 1 Corinthians 15:58, therefore, my dear brothers, stand firm, let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Noel, Philippines. There's not life with God unless you follow Jesus Christ and proclaiming His word to all nations. Benjamin, Nigeria. To continue to trust in God, both in difficult and uncertain time. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. Moses, Guyana. To youth, I have always told them that the best preparation time is when they are young. They should be serious with God, living a devoted and sanctified life. Build a strong foundation in Christ if they want to have a peaceful and blessed life in the future. Out of Christ, there is no peace, no matter their achievements. It's high time to God's purpose for our lives and start following it. The sooner the better. Samuel from Guinea. All right, I'm going to end with y'all's encouragements. Don't be afraid to live your life as a Christian, even if you're weird. Thank you. Trials in life are much easier to bear when you make Bible reading a priority. Also, in many cases, a byproduct of a life lived in faith is a life with fewer trials. Jesus was rejected so much by the people to which he shared the gospel, they crucified him. Being socially excluded isn't so bad in comparison. Isn't that true? Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Corrie ten Boom. Activist, Christian activist against Nazism. Jesus is your friend, faithful. He will always be there for you. And finally, God is with you. Emmanuel, right? God is with us. And so I thank you for your prayers. I thank you for all of your gifts to your church. Parts of your gifts go towards the world missions that directly affects what we can and can't do, but what we can do because of your offerings. There are materials in the back, tons of stuff if you want for reading. It's like our Forward in Christ, the world mission side, regular updates about what countries we're in and what we're doing in those countries. Some people I even mentioned today, yeah, this is him. Belichew's story is in here. His story's in there. So at least take this in the back. It looks like this. There's a whole table full of stuff that I'm not even familiar with. The world mission stuff says, hey, hand all this stuff out. But this is one, if you take anything from the back, I hope that you take home and you read through and pray for these people that are coming to learn the gospel, the true gospel, not the partial gospel, the true gospel that we teach in the Bible and the Lutheran Catechism. And I'll take any questions, but that sauerkraut smells great too, so we can break if you want. Yes?
Is your target market like educated people, I guess you could say? Because they'd have to have internet and or a phone and probably live in some sort of city, I'm guessing, or to have the internet and phone. And then you would just describe those people. And then the idea is so that you train them and then they go out and tell maybe the people that don't have phones or don't have access to internet. Is that the general idea?
Yeah. Right. So it sounds bad to say like we're not reaching everybody. We're not. We're targeting people that have some means of income. Some might be a leader in their community. Very often in tribes, when you get the person that is most influential, I'm going to say the leader, and they know English and they have an education, very often they are more able to influence and spread the gospel to other people. So that's exactly it. We'll spend our Facebook dollars targeting that demographic. Yep. It's true. And then they'll go and spread. Our 10-year goal is to have 60 new plants in 10 years. And those those home Bible study groups will have somebody in that group that has not only started the group, but has started somebody else in the group. And that person has started somebody else in the group on the path. That's the big vision in 10 years. All of our goals day to day have been made off of that 10-year goal. So, yeah.
Is that funded by World Mission?
That's right, and that's a good point. There are many good mission opportunities that you can give to. Parasynodicals, they're called, or they work in line with the WELS, but they aren't funded by WELS directly. This is funded by WELS, and it is funded by your congregation through your congregational mission offering. So part of what the WELS mission field is multi-language productions, and that's a good point of clarification. So I'm not saying that that's good or bad. I'm just saying I'm rejoicing with you that this is I'm here to tell you, so this is your dollars going to work, and we're very thankful for your offerings as you give them to this church locally, and as your church has a congregational mission offering that gives to your synod at large. It's just one part of the great things that we do together as a synod. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What's the average age of?
Average age is, I'm going to shoot from the hip because I don't know. I haven't done that stat, but I'd guess around 40. Belichew is 58, and there's a good group of that. that generation. But there are more students that come through because they're more familiar with technology that are younger. They're younger. And males around 24, you'd be surprised, actually younger than 20, some, but 24 to 38, 39, I'd guess somewhere in there. But it's actually probably a good stat that I should look up and be prepared to answer better. Yeah.
You said before you got 10,000 users,
Right.
then there was another time I thought you said something about, I can't remember.
I threw some numbers out there. Yeah. So the funnel approach is that we want to get the biggest audience that we can, because somewhere in there you're going to find the people that you want. And so the Facebook page is where we spend dollars to get the biggest Facebook page we can, because the most eyes are on it. Out of that, the Facebook page, all of the Tell Talks, all the video devotions, everything has a call to download the app. Out of those 500,000 people, out of those 500,000 people, only a certain percentage are going to download the app. And you can start to track this, actually. It's very consistent. And then out of that, only so many people are going to finish the first set of lessons. Only that, and then there's going to be attrition. Only a certain number of people are going to follow the next part and the next part. So 10,000 users on the app, much smaller than 500,000. That's the attrition. And then out of that, you're only going to have a certain amount of people finishing the whole self-learning process. And there we have a little over 250 people that have finished the app, which means they've enrolled in live group classes. So there's how the numbers break down. And it's kind of interesting that it becomes very consistent about, if you advertise this many people on Facebook, you can get in a year or a year and a half this many people in live group class, if that makes sense. So, yep.
Where's your biggest concentration of
App users, Africa for sure, the continent, and then within Africa, Zambia and Kenya. And there's a reason. In Kenya, the Africans speak English to each other. They do speak Swahili, but there's many different dialects, and in that country, English is a unifying language. Zambia as well is very modern, has Lusaka, the main city, and so they have good technology. And then another reason is that advertising within Africa is very affordable. It's more affordable than, let's say, Europe, where to get somebody to view your video, to really push it, it costs over $1 per person. Whereas in some countries in Africa, it can cost down to 16 cents. So we can do more, and we can pay for more eyes to be on the app and downloading things because of the cost of advertising. So Zambia and Kenya are the number 1 and 2 as far as concentration of people that have downloaded apps and working with us. Yeah.
Do you have any contacts in South Africa?
Yes, one of the videos that was just the audio, he's from South Africa, Cape Town. Yep. He's actually taking multiple courses at once because he wants to become, he feels strongly like this is a calling for him. But he's very early on, so you don't know. You keep him in your prayers, and yeah. We do not have a WELS presence in South Africa, though. We don't have a national church, which is kind of the exciting part, is that one of our goals is to reach countries that we aren't currently in, and South Africa is one of them. Yeah. Nope, we don't have any downloads from Australia. Again, cost of downloads are pretty expensive there, and I have never seen anybody come across from Australia. Yeah. Well, tell her to download the app. There is a Lutheran church there, I've heard of, but yeah. All right, well, I think we're about at time, and I'll be around for the meal afterwards if you want to talk. I'd love to get to know you better and answer any other questions that you have. Thank you, Pastor, for the invitation to preach for Mission Festival. I don't get to preach often, and so it's a real privilege when I get to speak in front of other people and share the gospel, and also share what we're doing together as a synod. So I'll take it from here. You take it from here.